Okay, we are now on to topic 5, and this is going to be Elizabethan education and leisure. This is relatively straightforward. There isn't really too much content for you to remember here. You just really need to know that there is definitely a difference in gender, so difference in education for boys and girls, and there is definitely a difference for class as well, so your nobles, middling, and your labouring. So, in terms of noble girls, normally they'd have a private tutor in their home and then they might go to another noble household just to finish learning the trade and finish off their education. They might learn some languages that would help them at court to impress, so maybe some Latin and French, certainly music and dancing, because if they are to surround Elizabeth, part of their job will be to know the latest dances and entertain her, and gentle things like needlework, which is what noble women will sit around and do in their comfortable houses, and horse riding as well. Things that you need land to do, so noble hobbies. And the education always relates to their future role, and the future role of a noble girl is to be a courtier or have some sort of noble marriage. Our middling girls may go to a dame school. That's normally the house of a local woman in your local village or local town, and you go from the ages of 5 to 7. You'll get some basic literacy there and things that will help you in the home with your family, like baking and sewing and basic medicine. The reason that these are the subjects that a middling girl will study are because their future is going to be the wife of perhaps a tradesman or um, another prominent man in the village, and mothers. So it's things that will help raise a family. Labouring girls have no formal education. In terms of noble boys, again, they have a private tutor and they may go and finish at a noble household. They'll learn languages like Latin and Greek, subjects like history and philosophy to fit in at court, or government and theology, especially if they're aiming for the Privy Council. They'll also do things that need land, including horse riding and archery and fencing. And their future, again, might be a courtier, maybe a role in Elizabeth's government, perhaps even a lawyer. Our middling boys have petty schools, so a little bit like dame schools, but for boys in a teacher's home, and they'll have reading, writing, and English and basic arithmetic. The idea was that it was good for our middling classes to have a little bit of education because that's good for trade that had started to be recognised. We also have the opening of 72 grammar schools under Elizabeth, which shows that there was some importance in education. Bright boys from gentry families would attend these. There were certain grammar schools for the sons of merchants or yeomen, and fees were paid based on the income of the family, but there were some scholarships. They could be quite harsh at grammar schools. There were beatings and punishments for bad behaviour. And there was no formal education for your labouring boys. They would just go out and work as soon as they were able to. So, is there much change in education in the Elizabethan era? A little bit, you could argue it both sides. So, there's no national system of schooling, whether you got some or not, depending on your class. School is very much to prepare you for adult life. It's not about picking subjects that you love, like history. It is about what your future is going to look like, and it's also going to match your social order. Girls don't receive as formal an education as the boys, so the boys get more formal education. And another thing to note is Protestantism equals higher literacy rates. So, as we know, Protestants have changed the Bible to English and services are in English, and they really encourage people to read the Bible for themselves. This, of course, encourages literacy, and we have more people able to read under Elizabeth. Business and trade is also a big motivation for more people being educated because educated people can do better business. There is also this new idea called humanism, which spreads, that is encouraging people to move away from old, backwards, superstitious ways and to move to a slightly more enlightened and educated population. Next, we have leisure, and much like education, there are differences between class and between gender. So, I said girls and boys, really should be men and women here, but on our girls' side, our noble girls and women will be getting involved with pastimes that need land. So, pastime, if you think of it as a bit like a hobby, something you do to pass the time, we've got hunting, hawking, and fishing. You cannot do those things unless you own land. Also, they enjoyed blood sports, which are betting on animals fighting, so bear baiting, cockfighting, and Elizabeth was even known to place a few bets. Reading literature spreads, so as we have more books at this time, the printing press has made books slightly cheaper, so they're a little bit easier to get hold of, but still too expensive for you low down in society. More books start to spread, things like poetry or Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. They're widely published now because the printing press means it's easy to do this. So we have books. We also have the theatre. So the best seats were above the stage for your nobles, which you couldn't really see much of the play, but it was the status. You were above the stage, so you were better than everyone else. Plays had moved on themselves as well. So at this time, we've got plays of Shakespeare, we've got secular plays. So we're moving away from plays like miracle plays that are strictly stories from the Bible. These plays could be very rude or very funny, and they were enjoyed by all. In terms of music, we've got lutes, spinets, harpsichords, and it's worth noting here that noble families weren't really playing these themselves, they were paying musicians to play for them at banquets and such. Further, dances would take place at court, and nobles would very much dance with other nobles. Our middling women, again, they enjoy their blood sports. There's some literature available to them, and again, you'd find them at the theatre, but not in the best seats. Our labouring poor, girls and women, again, they can enjoy the blood sports and the theatre, where they get the cheap seats that cost about a penny. They're in the pit, they've got an okay view, and they're enjoying the same plays as the nobles. On the boys' side then, again, you've got the things that require land, like hunting and fishing, but we've also got the sports that require expensive equipment, like real tennis or fencing. We've also got them taking part in wrestling and swimming, although certainly not with the lower classes, blood sports, literature, theatre, music and dancing for the men too. In the middling section, our men are also being involved in wrestling and swimming, blood sports, literature and theatre. Finally, your labouring poor, we've got a real standout one here, which is football. This was a menacing game where bones could be broken, people could even be killed. It's played all through the village, no real rules, and this was strictly for boys or men. Also, your wrestling, swimming, blood sports, theatre, and music as well. It is just worth saying here, and music should be on both sides here for girls and boys. But it is worth saying that the instruments were cheaper, such as fiddles, bagpipes, and also they might hear music at things like fairs rather than at royal banquets. So is this the golden age of leisure? Well, it depends on your class, and the classes certainly did not mix.